Hi everyone, welcome back. I'm Michael Sandler, your host on Inspire Nation. If you've ever wanted to discover who you truly are and vibrate at the highest level possible, then do we have the Book of Truth show for you. Today I'll be talking with Paul Selig, medium and author of I Am the Word, the Book of Love and Creation, the Book of Mastery, the Book of Knowing and Worth, and a new paradigm-blowing favorite of mine, the Book of Truth. And that's just what we'll be talking about today, how to get an allowance and accord with your true self at the highest level and discover who you are in truth, what you are in truth, and how you can truly serve in truth. So welcome back to the show, Paul. Are you ready to shine?
I am. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for being on the show and a mighty woohoo for being here. Before we dive right into things, I went to an event of yours over the winter. I have never actually, which is strange to say, I've never actually attended a spiritual event. I'm kind of a hermit in my studio here, and it was phenomenal.
Thank you.
It was very special to hear you, to hear the guides at the same time. We'll dive more into that in the show. If they are up for it, at some point, if they would be up for doing something that we did during your event, an attunement of some sort, would be phenomenal. It was one of those things that I could literally feel the change coming over me.
I would assume that can happen. You know, the guides do what they want to do, but I think they rarely would say no to doing an attunement. Their work.
Very, very cool. So I'm just going to do a very, very brief Paul Selig 101. Go back and check out the other interviews we have on Inspire Nation to catch more details about this. But how did you get into channeling your guides?
Well, I wasn't looking to do this. I don't know that I necessarily believed in channeling all that much. I had studied a form of energy healing, and I was volunteering at a place that was providing services for people with life-challenging illness. It was the early 90s. It was the height of the AIDS epidemic in New York, and I was volunteering at this place, and I had my hands on people, and I started to hear things for them. So I was about, 30 years old, maybe at the time, 31, and I started to get information from the people that I was working on, and it was really just sort of like I would hear a word or something would sort of move to the forefront of my consciousness that made no sense to me at all. And I just began to learn to say, if I heard the name Frank, who's Frank? And the person would say, my husband, my lover, my son, my dog, whatever. And gradually, as I kept getting the confirmation of the information, I began to trust it more. And then I decided to do a little group in my apartment, just really to sit in the energy that was coming through, not expecting to be doing the work that I'm doing now. And the very first time I convened a group, I began to hear for the group. So the channeling was very present the moment I was willing to show up for it. But this is now many years ago, and the work has really evolved as I've continued to work with it.
How has it changed you since then?
Well, I'm certainly not living the life that I used to. I mean, I was, when I was 25, 29, I had a very different life plan for myself, and I had been raised something of an atheist, and this isn't the kind of work that I expected to be doing at all, or would have wanted to. When I started to open up in my 20s, that really turned my life inside out in a large way. I mean, going from a world where there was no such thing as God or spirit to one in which there was is a mind-boggling shift for anybody who's been there. And when I started to have experiences of phenomena of feeling energy and seeing lights around people and all of the stuff that began to happen around that time, that really meant that the world was not the way that I thought it was. And there was no way around that. I had come from this place of, I just wanted to drink and have a good time and, do my stuff. And I was playwriting in those days. But the spiritual work informed everything, and I was a teacher for a long time. I was a college teacher. And the work that I was doing spiritually and the information that I was getting certainly was informing what I was doing, I think in a very positive way without my being overt with it. But in terms of how my life has changed, I'm no longer a college teacher. This is what I'm doing. And this level of phenomena, and what you described in the workshop of feeling the energy, has become part of my ordinary life. So it doesn't feel extraordinary anymore, although I suppose others may think it is. It's just sort of my experience of being in the world. It hasn't fixed me. It hasn't answered all of my questions, but I continue to show up and to be participatory for this work as it continues to come through me.
Thank you so much for sharing on that. How would you say, I was asked recently how I've changed the most, or I guess it was Kamal Ravikant we had on the show. He said, Michael, what has changed the most in you or caused you to change the most over the last couple of years? And it's been diving into automatic writing and hearing words that are coming to me. But it has kind of cracked open a doorway, and I would say made me a lot more open-hearted. Have you experienced any of that sense of expansiveness or open-heartedness?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Do I credit the work for that? I credit the entire experience of being alive with that, and the work that I do is part of being alive. So, I don't know that to be honest with you, my life is so different now. I mean, I'm an empath. I have a practice as an empath. If you want to know what's going on with your ex-girlfriend from 10 years ago and you give me your name, I can step into her, start to look like her, and hear her. I mean, what I'm doing now with my life is extraordinary. But as I said, it's become the ordinary for me. That way of being in the energy of love and being in that expression of it is something that I experience mostly when I'm working. And when I'm working, there's sort of a merging that happens with my guides. I mean, so much so that my eyes, I've been told, often change color on a very pale blue. I don't see it.
I'll pause you for a brief sec. I saw this.
You did?
I was at your event, and you went through, and I don't even know, you were doing an attunement exercise with each individual, and your eyes were a completely different color than they are now. And I did a double and a triple take, and it's real.
Yeah. I mean, I only know the reports, and I often ask what color were my eyes because I'm curious. And not everybody sees it, but they tend to run a very pale blue when there's that level of merging. But I was just going to say, when I'm in that level of expansion and expression as the guides, first of all, there is no fear. I'm not operating from fear. There's a deep, deep compassion that I experience. Everybody looks just gorgeous, just beautiful, just as they are from this place. And that's not how I'm wandering around in Manhattan, and I wish it were. And I know that I've been given the tools to be able to do that should I avail myself of it. And I do, and when I do, I have that experience as I wish. Like many of us, I think I'm still somewhat invested in what I want to be and who I think I should be and how the world reflects that. And that, as my guides would say, is my small self sort of doing its thing at the cost of what may be known at the higher level. So yes, I do experience that expansion. And I have to say, I mean, to compare my life now to what it was even 10 years ago would be fairly impossible for me. My road in some ways hasn't been, unicorns and rainbows. It's been challenging in many ways. And every time I seem to move forward in my work, I have to confront another level of my stuff that I get to move through. And my stuff means just the stuff that I've invested in or who I think I am that is not who I am. And so that's been my path. And perhaps that's just how I'm choosing to experience it or just what I've agreed to. But it's deeply transformational. It's not always as easy as I would prefer it to be. But, my guides have said about the work that comes through me, this is not convenient work. It's not convenient to the small self or to the ego. It really isn't at all. And those are the things that I bump up against as I grow.
Thank you for sharing on that as well. There's one word, and I want to dive into the teachings here and into the book. One last thing before we do that is this is something I think we all struggle with, is we've often been given the tools, at least the rudimentary tools, but we don't take action with them.
Yeah.
You've been given a lot of tools, and you use the word, I could walk around Manhattan if I avail myself.
Well, by avail, I mean align myself. And that means that I become willing to allow myself to be who I truly am and not who I think I am. And the guides say the small self thinks and the divine self or the true self knows. And I know this because I do it. I know what that's like. So, when I say avail, I think I mean align. And to be in alignment, the guides say, is to be in energetic accord or energetic agreement with this other level of consciousness or vibration, as they call it. And it's available, But if I want to do that, I have to let go of my stuff. I have to let go of what you think of me, how I'm seen in the world, every grudge I have. It's not convenient. So if I want to do that work, it's fine. If I want to feel that stuff without doing the work, I could probably take a pill. But that's a very different thing. So, the divine self, as I understand it, the true self is not afraid, doesn't hold a grudge, doesn't care what anybody thinks. And if I want to be at that level, that's the work that has to happen. So one of the things my guides say is, you can't be the light and hold anybody else in darkness. It's a basic teaching. And they say that's the hypocrisy of all religions, is that they do that. We've got it, you don't. We're here, you're there, and that's it. Which they say is just absolutely ridiculous. But if I want this, I have to be willing to do that, which essentially means agree to release the people that I'm holding in the dark, or those aspects of myself, that I'm condemning. I used to say, when people said, how has your life changed doing this work? I had lost 130 pounds, and I went, well, that was a big change, but I put a bunch of it back in the last couple of years, and now I'm angry at that part of myself, and I totally understand kind of why I did it. But I also understand that there's choice. Do you understand? We're always in choice. We're always agreeing to the kind of reality that we have. So I don't know if I've answered your question or if that was all just, too much information.
No, I think that's perfect, because it's something that we are all struggling, at least as listeners, and I'm a listener too here, which is we're given all of this advice and tools, but it is hard to stay in that place 24/7. Or maybe that's an excuse, but to me it seems hard to stay there 24/7.
Yeah, the guides talk about this. I think they talk about it in the Book of Truth. They've been lecturing on it more in the last year. But they pretty much say, we're all radios, and we're all the station that we're playing is our consciousness. And we do have choice about that. We have choice about what the station is that we're broadcasting. And, some of what I do when I go back and forth or up and down is I'm bouncing between these two levels of awareness. And the old level of awareness, and the challenge, I think, and the guides have talked about this, is they say, every time you leave the house, everything you're seeing was named by somebody who came before you. And you're investing in all of this history when you walk out that's sort of giving you a sense of who you should be in relationship to it. So we're sort of living in this museum where things have been decided, what's good, what's bad, what's beautiful, what's ugly, all of this stuff in collective agreement. And one of the big challenges, I think, in this work, and this is sort of where it goes, the guys always say this isn't self-help work. They say self-help is for the small self. The small self doesn't fix the small self. But the idea of moving beyond collective agreements and what things should be, because it's what we want them to be or what we were told they should or would be, that then becomes the challenge. Because I think it's very hard to do this work when we continue to invest in the group think that is also in lower vibration.
This is a good place to dive into it. And I can see a conundrum, a riddle within a conundrum coming up here, which is how do we not invest in the small self and realize that this is all a construct that we have come into agreement with? Maybe we even need to define that, and yet still exist in it.
I mean, this is probably better for the guides than for me. You know, I'm not the best student of the work. And really what I do when I channel, because I don't write these books, and for those of your listeners who don't know me, I literally sit in a chair, I close my eyes, and the entire books are dictated and then transcribed and then published unedited. So the books are the guides. So how do we exist in a collective agreement? Is that the question?
Well, how do we are, okay, first off, this would be, and this doesn't even need to be for the guides, what is a collective agreement before we go to this next step?
A collective agreement would be, for example, it is better to be rich than poor.
Mm-hmm.
A collective agreement could be, if you're good, you go to heaven. A collective agreement can be, you know, what beauty is and what that's supposed to look like. Any of these things that we buy into. I mean, the guides that I work with say, you know, you've lived in a plane for so long with war that you believe that there's always going to be war. And because of that, you continue to perpetuate it. And that the only way that you can move beyond this is to literally move beyond it, to move to a level of consciousness where that's not an option, where that doesn't occur anymore. Do you understand?
I do. So this is a good place to dive in, and I'm going to definitely want to dovetail around back to war. That's one of the big questions that I have today. So I guess the question for the guides is, if we realize that the world that we're seeing around us, that we're living in, is an agreement, you know, we are choosing to be a part of it, and then we are going to get in attunement.
They're shaking their head. They're saying you've created it. That's why you're in agreement too. This is not an inherited landscape. They're saying this is not an inherited landscape. In some ways, it is. In some ways, it is. Somebody else built the building. Somebody else built the building that you sit in, but you confirm the building. But you confirm the building by your witness of it, by your witness of it, and the consciousness you bring to it. And the consciousness you bring to it affirms the structure of the building, affirms the structure of the buildings. You are complicit. So you are complicit to all of your creations, and everything you see, and everything you see. If you pretend you're not, if you pretend you are not, you're a victim of the landscape. You're a victim of your landscape, and that it's not possible, and that is not possible. Now the divine self, the divine self, who is the truth of who you are, who is the truth of who you are, realizes the truth in all he sees, in all he sees. The small self cannot do this. The small self cannot do this. The small self sees the post office. The small self sees the post office. He knows what he was taught a post office is. He knows what he was taught a post office is, and he goes and mails a letter, and he goes and mails his letter. The divine self realizes himself. The divine self realizes himself beyond what he was named, beyond what he was named, beyond what was claimed as by the world, beyond what he was claimed as by the world, and consequently can lift everything he sees, can lift everything he sees to the higher octave that he exists in, This is vibrational chord. This is vibrational accord. So the idea that the small self will see the post office, and deem it other than it is, and deem it other than it is not possible, because the small self witnesses through history. Because the small self witnesses through history, the divine self is not bound by history. The divine self is not bound by history, the aspect of you that may know yourself. The aspect of you that may know yourself as the true self can witness anything and lift it to its vibrational accord, If you understand that everything exists, in octaves, in a tiered scale. In a tiered scale, you can learn the higher, and exist with the higher, without resorting to the history, without resorting to the history of the general landscape. Is it possible? Is it possible? Not only is it possible, it's already done. It is already done. Each time you witness the divine, Each time you witness the divine in another, or in what you see, or in what you see, you lift that thing. You lift that thing to its true essence, which is unbound by history, which is unbound by history, your investment in history. Your investment in history claims it again and again and again, claims it again and again and again. And if you want what you've been getting, and if you want what you've been getting, continue to claim it. Continue to claim it. That is up to you. That is up to you, period. Period.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, guides. So if we talk about history and we're talking about the construct of everything around us, how, if we get into alignment or in accord, how are we still existing? We still want to get to the post office.
The post office in higher dimension. They're saying the post office exists in the higher way, in the higher way. You are not pretending there is no way to the post office. You are not pretending there is no way to the post office, but what you are not doing. But what you are not doing is investing in the decisions made by others, is investing in the decisions made by others to tell you who you are, to tell you who you are. If you walk down the street, and you believe you're a poor person, and you believe you're a poor person, you hold that frame before you, and you hold that frame before you. Everything you see will confirm that poverty, If you walk down the street and know who you are in a higher way, you know everything else in accord with it. You know everything else in accord with it. Coming at the exclusion of nothing, and you must understand it, and you must understand that the divine sees the divine. The divine sees the divine in all manifestation, not just the small self would be polite, not just what the small self would deem as polite, period. And they're saying period.
Thank you. From there, maybe let's talk about lies and fears, because I think this falls right in line with what we're talking about.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the guides say, there's a few. They talk a lot about this. In the Book of Truth, there's a whole teaching on truth at the cost of what we've believed. So the guides say there is not a lie that's been told that has not been told in fear. Every lie ever told was told in fear. Every action we take in fear, they say, gets us more fear. And they just say, look at your own lives. Look at the last choice you made because you were afraid and see what it got you. Probably it got you more fear. Now, I think that there's a difference. People say, well, what if there's a bear and I'm running from the bear? That's self-preservation. I don't know if that's fear. The bear isn't evil. You're not, you're working to save yourself, which is self-preservation. So I don't know. That's my postscript, and I probably got it wrong, and they're just saying so got it wrong. So when they talk about truth, they talk about truth as a vibration that is present, that can be operated in and through. And that in the vibration of truth, they say a lie cannot be held. So when you begin working at this level, those agreements that you made in fear, either on a personal level or in the collective level, have to come up for release, because they can't exist in the higher plane. Now, we've been taught to believe all this crap, and so we continue to invest in it. But when you begin working in this way, my understanding is you can't align to it anymore, which means your relationship to it is going to have to be seen and moved.
Thank you. So maybe this is where we get to dive in. How do we begin working at this level?
Well, I'm going to let the guides do this, and they're really probably who you should be interviewing on the teachings. I can interpret, and they do a better job than I do when you claim the truth. When you claim the truth as who and what you are, as who and what you are, this is claimed by the true self, and this is claimed by the true self, not the false structure of his personality, not the false structure you know of as personality. You align to it, but in this alignment, you go through a process. You go through a process of realization. Realization means knowing. Realization means knowing, and knowing truth, and knowing truth, knowing who and what you are in truth, knowing who and what you are in truth comes at a great cost, and that means everything you believe yourself to be, and that means everything you believed yourself to be that is not in accord to truth, that is not in accord to truth. I think of a chord, and think of a chord as a chord of music, as a chord of music in resonance, if it's not resonant with that. Everything that is not in resonance with that will need to be moved, will need to be moved or moved away, or claimed in a higher way, or claimed in a higher way to be reknown, So the process is alchemization, for lack of a better word, which is a reinvention, or a reknowing, or a reknowing of the being that you are, outside of self-history, outside of what's been claimed for you in history, period. And they're saying period.
So thank you, guides. What does it mean? This is either for you or to the guides. Maybe it's easiest to go to the guides. What does it mean to truly be in accord or attunement or in resonance with?
To be in the knowing of who and what you are. Now, the what is the key here. Because the exclusion of form from the equation, has caused great harm on this plane, The realization of the divine is what you are. The realization of the divine as what you are in form and field. In form and field allows the realization of the divine in manifestation, of the divine in manifestation. All you see in all you see. Form. If you've excluded form from the equation, form itself has no spirit. And if you believe the tree outside, is holy, why don't you believe your body is as well? Why don't you believe your body is as well? Now, when you claim in truth, in form and field, there is a realignment. A new knowing of your expression. Your expression means how you are in the world. Your expression means how you are in the world, and what you claim. As you know yourself in truth, through the claim of it, I know who I am in truth. I know who I am in truth. I know what I am in truth. I know what I am in truth. I know how I serve in truth. I know how I serve in truth. In fact, you disable the parts of the self, that would claim in fear, or adhere to a lie, because it's what you were taught. It's what the small self thinks it needs. It's what the small self thinks it needs, or what you would choose to get your small way. Period.
Thank you, guys. Let's take each of these pieces. So I want to get maybe today, if we just grasp the understanding of these three pieces, which is so key, I think it'll get us a far way. First off, either it's the God within or Christ consciousness, or what does it mean to know who I am in truth?
Well, let me try this first, and I'm going to go to them. We want to take it. They're saying, no, we want to take it. I'm going to go to bed. I'm going to let this whole, you can just take them for the whole.
Thanks, Paul.
They're saying, we want you to know this, the who that speaks these words. The who that speaks these words is the true self, or the aspect of the Creator, or the aspect of the Creator that has come as you, that seeks realization, as itself, the divine as you, the spark of God, if you wish, the indwelling Christ, the monad, if you wish, the monad, if you wish, Holy Spirit, if you wish, Holy Spirit, if you wish, whatever name you want to offer, whatever name you want to offer that will serve the purpose of comprehension, that will serve the purpose of comprehension, the action of the Creator as you, the action of the Creator as you, the divine as its expression, the divine as its expression or field and form, in your field and form. I know who I am. I know who I am as the aspect of the Creator, as the aspect of the Creator in form as what I am, in form as what I am, and the what that you are, and the what that you are is in manifestation, period. And they're saying period.
So thank you so much. That may have answered the second part. Let's look
Yeah.
at what I am in truth.
They're saying the what in form and field. Now the identity you hold. Now the identity you hold as a man perhaps claims inheritance. I know what a man is. I know what a man is because I know what I was told a man is, because I know what I was told a man is, and the codification of form. And the codification of form as a man becomes part of your comprehension, experience in this world. Now, when you realize the divinity, you don't say realize means know, and understand realize means know of what you are. You move beyond the codification. You move beyond the codification of it for you that's been claimed for you throughout history, to what you truly are, which is the divine in manifestation, Every cell of your being can only be this, period. And they're saying period.
Very, very good. From there, the last one. What does it mean to know how we serve in truth?
True. In truth means always true. It is not the convenience that you like. I am a nurse. I am a nurse is how you are expressing. I know how I serve in truth. Simply means that the divine as you, is in its perfect expression, and is always true, and is always true. Now this simply means that you are as you are, in form and field, and your work, which is your expression, is what it needs to be, to be in vibrational accord with this, If you understand the manifestation of God, that the manifestation of God in form as you, knows exactly what it needs to do, to be expressed fully, you will understand this teaching. If you think it's a small self gets a junction, if you think it means that the small self gets a new job description, you'll be confused. Period.
So if we step beyond the small stuff, if we work to get into accord, to get into alignment, to repeat these phrases, will we be able to see more clearly why we are here?
Yes, they're saying yes, because there's nothing else to see. You know who you are. You know who others are. You know who others are, and your work is called to you through this. Now, your work as your expression of doing your job. Now, your work as your expression may be different than your job. It may be how you breathe. It may be how you breathe, how you witness, how you walk in the world, and how your presence impacts everything you see, and how your presence impacts everything you see, because you're operating in this vibrational field. Because you're operating in this vibrational field, you lift everything you see to as well. You lift everything you see to it as well. Period. They're saying period.
Thank you. It's one of the things that we had in the old house we lived in. We had a sticky note in the bathroom. Jessica put it there after reading the Book of Mastery, and it simply said, "I am here. I am here. I am here."
Yeah.
Every time that you would go and repeat that, it seemed to bring you into a resonance which shifted everything.
Yeah. Well, that's an attunement. I mean, I should say this to those who aren't familiar with the work. The guides that I work with work through vibrational attunements and language. They say the language is encoded. And, you know, if you read the reviews on Amazon, you see people saying, I'm reading the book and my body is vibrating. I'm reading the book, I'm seeing auras. I mean, this phenomenon has been attached to, for instance, the very beginning. The claim in the first book was the attunement to the word, which is, you know, I'm word through my body, and then it goes on. The third book, the attunement, was I know who I am, I know what I am, I know how I serve. In the book of Mastery, the attunement was I am here, I am here, I am here. And the guides say that is the divine self claiming its purview. So the divine as you announcing itself in purview. You know, if you go from I know who I am, I know what I am, I know how I serve as an attunement, I am here, I am here, I am here, is the expression of that in the life that you live. And they say, you know, the purview of the divine self is everything you see. Nothing is excluded. Nothing. Anything you see on the news, because you're in witness to it, and because you can align at this level, everything you see, you're already in energetic accord to. We all are, like it or not. But the divine self, let me get this from them, the divine sees the divine. The divine sees the divine. The claim I am here. The claim I am here claims purview and alignments with the divine self. So the divine self supports the alignment to everything he or she witnesses, to everything he or she witnesses. Nothing can be excluded. Nothing can be excluded from this equation.
Thank you. So let's take this. Oh, geez, I don't mean to make a pun, but let's take this to a higher level, and let's look at the evolution of where we're going, of where the guides are going. And let's first talk about. I want to talk about where we're going, but first, let's talk about being in purview with war.
Yeah, or a government or anything else. But we'll go to war if that's. I'm going to see what they want to say. You're already in alignment to war. You're already in alignment to war. You keep making them happen. You keep making them happen. You keep supporting them in your frequency. You keep supporting them in your frequency by confirming them. Even the confirmation of war. Even the confirmation of war adds weight to the vibration. Adds weight to the vibration. Now the divine self sees something very different. Now the divine self sees something very different when she witnesses what you would call war. When she witnesses what she would call war, she may witness violence, yes. She may witness violence, yes, and fear and discord, but the action of the divine. But the action of the divine is to claim all of these things, in a higher way, So as the divine sees the divine in all this action, so as the divine sees the divine in all this action, she lifts it to a higher way of being. She lifts it to a higher way of being in vibrational accord. When you see something that is frightening, to you, and you confirm its fearfulness, you go into agreement with fear. You go into agreement with fear, and then you give that power, and then you give that power. You're not saying ignore war. We are not saying ignore war. We are saying claim the creator within war. We are saying claim the creator, the action of the creator, or the action of the creator, or the field of the creator, or the field of the creator where you see war, to lift it to its higher truth, All is holy. All is holy, like it or not, agree to it or not, agree to it or not. If something is unholy, if something is not holy, you have put it in darkness. You have put it in darkness. What you put in darkness, you give great power to. What you put in darkness, you give great power to. Everything must be lifted. Everything must be lifted, like it or not, to the light, to be reknown, Period.
I love what they're saying. Maybe we need to break this down even more for people, but as I am hearing this, I think of whether it's political leaders we don't like, whether it's whomever or whatever we don't like. If we realize that it is all the divine and manifest, it can truly change everything.
Absolutely, yes. And the one who perceives this in truth. And the one who perceives this in truth sees the truth in another, sees the truth in another, and will not confirm a lie, and will not confirm a lie if someone is lying. If someone is lying and you are claiming the truth, and you are claiming them in truth, you are lifting them beyond the lie itself. You are lifting them beyond the lie itself and the aspect of them, and the aspect of them that believes it requires the lie, that believes it requires the lie to get what it wants, to get what it wants. Once you understand that the true nature of all, that the true nature of all, underlying true nature, not the personality itself, not the personality itself, is of God, you can begin to claim it as it is. You can begin to claim it as it is, and therefore lift it, and therefore lift it. You decide God is not there. If you decide God is not there, you are confirming the darkness. You are confirming the darkness and saying, there we go again, and saying, there we go again. You point your finger at what you don't like. You point your finger at what you don't like, and therefore you empower it, and therefore you empower it, period.
Thank you. People who are listening to this today, we're drawn to this for a certain reason. I've watched an evolution in each one of the books, an evolution in the message.
Yeah.
Where are we going, and why is this so important today?
Well, all I know, I'm going to let them take this in a second, because I actually want to hear what they have to say, because I don't know. I mean, I think it's been articulated in all the books.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And they're saying, say this. Yeah, so I'll say this. In the very first book, I Am the Word, they call they use the term Christ, and they define it perhaps differently than most of us have been led to understand it. And they say that the Christ is the aspect of the Creator that can be realized in material form as who and what we are. Mm-hmm. That's the truth of our being. And they said in that first book that the Christ in humanity, our man, I think they said in that book, is an event that happens. And I always thought this was sort of theoretical. I get it, we're all holy, I get it, yeah, that means, we're nice to each other, and, namaste this, namaste that, whatever. I understood the ease in principle of the teaching. What I didn't get at the time is they're really talking manifestation. They're really talking about the being of this, and they're actually talking about a whole shift in the species. They say that we're really at a juncture as a species. Now, that was my way of saying it. I know only because they've mentioned the title of the next book, which is due at the end of November, and I'm going to have to start sitting and doing the sessions for it over the next month or two, I suppose. They've called it the Book of Freedom, if they still say with that. And the attunements that they're working with now in groups is to freedom. And it's an astonishing attunement, because basically when you attune to freedom, and the claim there is, I am free, I am free, I am free, you are releasing your attachment to every agreement that was ever made in fear. Every agreement, every doctrine, every teaching, every idea that was fear-based or is limiting or is prescriptive in a way that would keep us from our realization of who we truly are. And again, these things come through in ways that are very palpable to people and quite physical. So that's where I think they're going. Now I want to see what they want to say. We want to tell you exactly where we're going. We want to tell you exactly where we're going, and that's to realization, and that is to realization and knowing, realization and knowing of the who and the what that you are, of the who and the what that you are, as it expresses it, so that you may express as it for the good of all, for the good of all, for the lifting of the world, for the lifting of the world, for the claiming of the planet, for the claiming of the planet in a higher octave, in a higher octave. The octave is already here. The octave is already here. It is always playing. It is always playing, but you refuse it. But you refuse it. The small self cannot align to it. The small self cannot align to it. She may read all the books she wants. She may read all the books she wants, but the small self does not enter the kingdom. But the small self does not enter the kingdom, and the kingdom is as we teach it. And the kingdom as we teach, as we define all things, is the awareness of the divine in all things. The divine is who and what you are. The divine is who and what you are, lives there already in a higher octave, lives there already in a higher octave as you align to this. As you align to this, you claim it in manifestation, you claim it in manifestation, and your world is made new, and your world is made new, period, period, period. Period, period, period.
Thank you. This brings up a couple key questions. One I've had since the beginnings of reading your book and books, which is, if we're going to claim if we're working to claim who we truly are, why are we having to go through this whole cycle of forgetting who we are in the beginning and being in accord with that?
Choice, choice, choice. Well, what I hear is choice, choice, choice. You have claimed this for yourselves. You have claimed this for yourselves. You have claimed the density of your You have claimed the density of your experience. It's your making. It's your making. You created every mess you see before you. You created every mess you see before you, and you've aligned to it, and you've aligned to it. What makes you think it is not yours to unmake? What makes you think it is not yours to unmake? You are not a victim to this. You are not a victim to this. Every war that was ever made, every war that was ever made, you invested in conscious. You invested in consciousness. You are party to the war. You were party to the war throughout time, if you wish. Throughout time, if you wish. You still are. You still are. You get to move beyond it. You get to move beyond it. Now, why did you choose this? Now, why did you choose this? To learn through them. To learn through them. You have chosen to learn here. You have chosen to learn here. This is the stage. This is the stage. All of the dramas that unfold. All of the dramas that unfold are to learn through, but they are not who and what you are. But they are not who and what you are. They're the aspects of you. They are the aspects of you that have been claimed into form, in lower vibration, as you lift yourself. As you lift yourself, you lift your creations. You lift your creations, or you stop investing in them, period, period, period. I'm going to give you a bad example of this. I know, because I just thought about it.
Yeah.
I used to, I can be a real worrier, and I used to go like OCD, worry, worry, worry. And there were times when I would say to the guides, what do I do? What do I do? And they would sort of talk to me very reasonably. Well, Paul, this is what you're thinking, and this is what's really going on. And that didn't do a damn thing. This is what helped. I would say, oh my God, what's happening? And the guides would start rolling their eyes. Now, the moment they started rolling their eyes at my worry, I went, oh, you mean like not, I couldn't even engage in the conversation to try to figure it out to fix it. But my investment in figuring it all out to fix it was my small self trying to work through all my stuff. And I think they're talking about something a little bit different happening now. So the divine self knows who he is. They're saying the divine self knows who he is and doesn't invest in problems, and doesn't invest in the problems or the dramas that the small self would create, that the small self would create. The collective dramas you see, you are party to. You are party to until you say no thank you. Until you say no thank you, roll your eyes if you wish. Roll your eyes if you wish. If that works for you, you may. If that works for you, you may, but the simple key is to lift beyond it, to a higher view, where you are not reinforcing the thing you say you want, where you are not reinforcing the thing you say you don't want, period. And they're saying period.
Thank you. One of the themes that is discussed in the book, and something that you actually brought up in the live session that I was at in New York, was that this is a time, and I guess it's going to a place of realization or freedom, a time of great shift where structures, you know where I'm going already, structures are going to have a massive realignment.
Yep. Well, they talk about truth as a tidal wave, or as a wave, There's a channeling that's actually up on YouTube that was delivered in Richmond, Virginia at a workshop 3 days before the last election. And they called it Great Change. And they said, you think your idea of choice is I will have the milk over the cream in my coffee. And they said, what you're getting ready for is what happens when the table tips over. There's no more milk or cream. There's a whole different dialogue that has to happen now. And they talked about, and they still talk about, truth as a wave. And they say that everything that is not moored or anchored or has a foundation in truth is going to be transformed by this thing. And, one of the reasons they work with us, I believe, in the way that they do, I know who I am in truth. This is an attunement. I know who I am in truth.
Mm-hmm.
I know what I am in truth. I know how I serve in truth, is to align us to this so that we're not just sort of carried away in the stuff. But they are saying that everything that is not aligned in truth is going to be remade in a higher way. And, this isn't necessarily going to be pleasant, I think, because we have great investments in the structures, the ones that even don't work. I mean, how many people that will prefer to stay in a bad marriage than risk the possibility of change or being alone? It's endemic. So if you look at how we perceive, I don't know, religion or governance or societal agreements or all of these things, I think, are also being addressed, and the resistance to some of this change, I think, is quite present now. That's my sense. Let me get it from them, because sometimes I editorialize and no, you didn't. They're saying, no, you didn't. Well said. Okay, I hear well said. So I'm going to see what they want to add. You stand at a time of crucial change. You stand at a time of crucial change, and the awareness of what you are, and the awareness of who and what you are is actually a ballast that will claim you, as the waves come, as the waves come. Now, a wave is not a bad thing. Now, a wave is not a bad thing. It cleanses, it recreates, it reforms. It cleanses, it recreates, it reforms. You may ride the wave. You may ride the wave or be overtaken by it or be overtaken by it. You may struggle against it. You may struggle against it or flow with it or flow with it. You have great opportunity here. You have great opportunity here to know who and what you are in the face of change. To know who and what you are in the face of change renders the change an ally, renders the change an ally that you can work with, and not an adversary, and not an adversary that you need to keep away, that you need to keep away, period.
Thank you. And thank you, guys. We always like to give, I like to put my coaching hat on a little bit before the end. And so I'm going to ask the guides what homework assignment they would give people today to help them get in more attunement or alignment.
Claim your truth and not the convenient truth, and not the convenient truth, not the momentary truth, not the momentary truth, but the eternal truth, but the eternal truth of who and what you are. Would you say this after us, please? Would you say this after us, please? I know who I am in truth.
I know who I am in truth.
I know what I am in truth.
I know what I am in truth.
I know how I serve in truth.
I know how I serve in truth.
I am free, I am free, I am free.
I am free, I am free, I am free.
When you work with this, you are re-identifying yourself. You are re-identifying the self as the true self who cannot be bound, in fear or in limitation or in limitation of this agreement. And in this agreement, you are free, 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 you are free. This will serve you as a teaching. This will serve you as a teaching and as an attunement, if you wish it, period. And they're saying period.
Thank you. Jessica, my wife, producer, she always likes me to ask a question for parents for their kids. Is there anything the guides would like to add for parents and kids?
They're saying love the kid as she is, and not as you want him to be. That is the gift you give your child. That is the gift you give your child, and that is the gift of truth. And that is the gift of truth, period.
Thank you. Where can people go to find out more, to find your book and any upcoming events?
My website is just my name, Paul Selig, PaulSelig.com. And there's a very full list of events up there. I'm traveling with this work a lot. We do live streams most Wednesday nights, which is an online, ongoing teaching where the guides come through and lecture and take people's questions about their lives or the work. But paulselig.com has the information. I'm going to be doing book signings for the Book of Truth. It's out on June 6th from Tarcher Perigee. And there's information on the New York launch at the Alchemist Kitchen and the LA launch at the Agape Spiritual Center that Reverend Michael Beckwith is hosting. And lots and lots and lots of workshops all over the country and Great Britain now. So check them out, and it would be lovely to see some people there.
Awesome. And I can't recommend it enough. That was the most special thing. It was until you see you, that's a funny way to put it, in person. Maybe there's an attunement, there's a vibrational alignment in person. There's some special feeling that you get out of it.
Well, in the workshops, I mean, the energies is present when I do the online things, truthfully, I feel. But in the workshops, the guides seem to take great joy in working with people individually, and they do often take a moment with everybody in the workshop to see them. Sometimes, and the first time, there were about 100 people in a workshop recently in Berkeley, and I thought, how are they going to deal with every person? And they did groups, and it was just as wonderful, and the energy was just as high. So I think there are things that happen. Well, I know what happens in the group. We can all feel the energy together. So there's one thing when you're sitting and you're feeling the download, or you're feeling the frequency around you. There's another thing when you're sitting with 50 people and you're all feeling it and confirm it and can begin to work with each other. So when I do the workshops, the guides do a lot of work with people to get them working with the energies that they work with, and that's quite wonderful to do.
Fantastic. A few last quick wrap-up questions, maybe, and then if they maybe want to do a last bit of attunement. But first off, what personally brings you the greatest happiness, or what I call the woohoo factor?
Being in wonder, I think. Being in wonder, I think, is what does it now. In all that can be and all that will be. I think that's a great place to hang out. And on a practical level, I'm really happy with a good, docuseries on Netflix. I can disappear for a happy 10 hours of that stuff. But really, when I go to my spiritual life, I think it's the gift of sort of seeing everybody as they truly are and outside of the boxes that they put themselves in. That's a tremendous gift for me.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Thank you so much, Paul. So 2 last questions we've got for the guides. First off, do they have any last words of wisdom that they want to share with people?
Thank yourself for being. They're saying thank yourself for being, regardless of the circumstances, regardless of the circumstances you have found yourselves in. You have found yourselves in. Give gratitude for being. Give gratitude for being, simply being, and release the need. And release the need to dictate where you should be, to dictate where you should be, so you may find who you are, so that you may find who you are and where you are, and that where you are is exactly where you need, is exactly where you need to be learning from, That is our gift to you. That is our gift to you, period, period, period. And they're saying period. Did you ask something else? I'm sorry.
Well, the last thing that we have, is there a last attunement that they would like to do for people?
So they're saying we've done the attunements, but we'll offer you this. But we will offer you this, if you would say this after us. If you would say this after us, this is the attunement to the word. They're saying this is the attunement to the word. The word is the energy of creator action. The word is the energy of the creator in action. You may say this, yes. You may say this, yes. So after me. I am word through my body.
I am word through my body.
Word, I am word.
Word, I am word.
I am word through my vibration.
I am word through my vibration.
Word, I am word.
Word, I am word.
I am word through my knowing of myself.
I am word through my knowing of myself.
As word.
As word.
Word, I am word.
Word, I am word.
I am word through all that I see before me.
I am word through all that I see before me.
Word, I am word.
Word, I am word.
Okay? They're saying thank you each.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me, Michael.
Thank you so much for being on the show, Paul. We love what you're doing. We love that you have, in no small way, I don't know if the right word is sacrifice, but you have given up the route that you were on to be on a very, very special path to help others. So thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you.
For everyone out there, this is Michael Sandler saying, be well, have fun, get the Book of Truth, and begin your ascension, and shine bright. Woohoo! Thank you so much, Paul.
Have a wonderful time. Enjoy the new home. Take good care. Okay?
Thank you too, Paul.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed it, be sure to like below. Also, leave your comments. Have some real fun with it. Subscribe to our channel where you're going to get more great videos, more interviews coming up. And check out our website, inspirenationshow.com. That's where you'll find tips, blogs, information, videos you won't find anywhere else, and useful and helpful resources to really help you kickstart your life and to shine bright. Thanks so much again. Thank you for your support. Like, comment, subscribe. See the website. Thanks so much and have fun. Of course, shine bright. Woohoo!